In 2020, Simon Cowell plummeted from an electric bike. His spine shattered into multiple fractures. Paramedics declared he was fortunate to survive. 2 years later, he fell again. Identical accident, identical brutality. But there exists something far more savage than those accidents. Something cameras never captured. Because the man who discovered Kelly Clarkson, One Direction, and Susan Boyle, the mogul who constructed a $600 million empire, deciding who merited fame and who deserved dismissal. That man paid a price no fortune can redeem. A childhood starved of affection. A bankruptcy that hurled him back into his teenage bedroom. A scandal that demolished friendships. The loss of loved ones, including a young star he considered a son, and a battle with his own reflection that left him unrecognizable, even to himself. Today, at 65, Simon Cowell is no longer the merciless judge. He moves cautiously, guarding a spine fused by steel rods. His weary eyes struggle to focus, and he embraces his son Eric tighter than most fathers ever do. Petrified that time is evaporating. How did the invisible boy nobody cherished become television's most potent force? What transpired behind American Idol, The X Factor, and Got Talent's curtains that remained unseen? Why did he betray a trusted friend? And how did 2 near-fatal accidents and Liam Payne's death fundamentally transmute his essence? Before answering, we must journey back to a boy who wept alone in bathrooms, who faced bankruptcy at 30, and who learned through agony that no measure of fame, fortune, or power can armor you against life's cruelest truths. Simon Cowell's inaugural stage lacked spotlights and applause. It was frigid, silent, and vacant. Born October 7, 1959 in Lambeth, London, he entered a world appearing perfect externally but hollow internally. His family wasn't impoverished, quite the contrary. They resided in affluent Elstree, Hertfordshire, in a home gleaming with middle-class respectability. But wealth, young Simon learned early, cannot purchase warmth. His mother, Julie Brett, a former ballet dancer and socialite, glided through rooms with elegance. She was beautiful, admired, the mother other families envied. But to Simon, she was distant, emotionally inaccessible. Love, if existent, remained unspoken. Affection was rationed like scarce commodity. Julie was physically present but absent in ways a child needs most. Years later, Simon confessed with painful honesty, "My mother loved me, but she never knew how to show it." His father, Eric Philip Cowell, proved even more unreachable. A stern music executive and estate agent, Eric measured life in achievements, not emotions. He believed in discipline, hard work, results. Praise wasn't in his lexicon. Simon could excel and Eric would nod. Simon could fail and Eric would frown. But never did "I'm proud of you" escape his lips. "My father never expressed pride in me," Simon admitted decades later, his voice still carrying that ache. Even when most needed, that silence became a scar Simon carried into every boardroom, audition, and sleepless night. The boy who never heard "well done" became the man obsessed with proving worth to an indifferent world. School offered no sanctuary. At Radlett Preparatory School and Dover College, Simon was the problem child. Restless, rebellious, clashing with teachers who viewed him as difficult rather than different. He wasn't unintelligent. He was bored. The system demanded conformity. And Simon, already invisible at home, refused to disappear at school. He violated rules, skipped classes, earned a reputation as the boy nobody wanted to handle. His classmates were remembered. Simon was overlooked. He scraped through with minimal passes, a single GCE in English and sociology, and departed school with no qualifications, no direction, a crushing sense of failure. In a family where excellence was the only currency, Simon felt bankrupt. By his late teens, rejection wasn't just familiar, it was expected. He attempted odd jobs. He drifted. He watched peers advance while he stagnated. Every door seemed locked. Every opportunity led nowhere. The boy invisible at home and ignored at school was now invisible to the world. Out of pity more than pride, his father secured Simon a mailroom position at EMI Music Publishing. It was the industry's lowest rung. Each morning, Simon Cowell, the music executive's son, delivered coffee to producers who didn't know his name. He sorted fan mail for artists filling stadiums while his presence dissolved into nothingness. "I was invisible in a spotlight-obsessed world," he later admitted, bitterness clinging to those words. He attempted escape. Humiliated by monotony and invisibility, he quit EMI, determined to find better. But the external world was crueler. Doors slammed, interviews failed, rent became impossible. Within months, broken, Simon crawled back to the same mailroom he'd vowed to leave. The humiliation was absolute. And within that humiliation, something else took root. Something dark and stubborn. Late nights, after hours of being ignored, Simon would lock himself in bathrooms and weep. Not merely tears of failure, but tears of fear. Paralyzing fear that this was his peak, that his life had climaxed at 22. Everything thereafter a slow descent into nothingness. But those tears didn't destroy him. They hardened him. From neglect he carved resolve. From rejection he learned defiance. The boy starved of affection was becoming a man who would force the world to notice, regardless of cost. Simon Cowell's childhood wasn't a fairy tale. It was a crucible. Every withheld, "I love you." Every unspoken, "I'm proud of you." Every moment of being unseen became fuel. Fuel for ambition so fierce it bordered on ruthless. Fuel for a drive that would make him television's most powerful man. But it also left scars, deep, hidden scars no success would ever fully heal. The boy who wept in silence would grow into a man commanding stadiums, yet still feeling invisible in his own home's quiet. The child craving his father's approval would spend a lifetime chasing validation from strangers, never quite believing it when it arrived. His childhood didn't make him strong. It made him hungry, and that hunger, born in the cold silence of a home that never said, "I love you," would drive him to unimaginable heights, but also make him lonelier than anyone could conceive. Humiliated but unbroken, Simon Cowell returned to EMI's mailroom. The same desk, the same unopened fan letters, the same producers walking past him without acknowledgement. But this time, something shifted. The tears had dried. The shame had calcified into something harder. Simon wasn't just surviving, he was studying. He observed everything, how records were selected, how artists were packaged, how fame was manufactured and sold. He learned the music industry wasn't about talent alone. It was about timing, image, and knowing what masses desired before they knew it themselves. The mailroom became his classroom, every ignored day a lesson in power. By early 1980s, Simon had clawed to a junior A&R position. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a foothold. And in 1983, he made his boldest, most reckless move, leaving EMI to launch his own label, ENS Music, later Fanfare Records, partnering with his boss Ellis Rich. For the first time, Simon Cowell felt visible. He wasn't just another corporate face, he was the boss. Fanfare achieved early success with novelty pop hits like Sinida's So Macho, climbing UK charts and making Simon a remembered name. Suddenly, he hosted parties, shook hands with insiders, tasted the intoxicating sweetness of being somebody. Money arrived rapidly. The lifestyle followed: expensive dinners, flashy clothes, a growing reputation as a rising mogul. For a man who'd spent a lifetime invisible, starving for approval, this was everything. He'd finally escaped his father's silent shadow. But empires built on hype collapse as swiftly as they rise. By late 1980s, the market shifted. The novelty pop sound that fueled fanfare became stale. Hits dried up. Acts that once topped charts couldn't secure radio play. Distribution deals crumbled. Revenue evaporated. And Simon, barely 30, watched in horror as his empire crumbled into rubble. By 1989, Fanfare Records was dead, not struggling, dead. Offices abandoned, contracts worthless, Simon Cowell left with crushing debts and a reputation as a failure. Friends vanished. Calls went unanswered. Investors who once smiled now avoided him. The boy invisible throughout childhood had briefly become visible, only to become invisible again in the cruelest twist. The financial collapse was devastating, But the emotional collapse was worse. Simon had no home, no income, no prospects. At 30, he was forced back into his parents' Hertfordshire house, back into the same childhood bedroom where he'd once wept himself to sleep, feeling unloved and unseen. Except now it was worse. Now he wasn't just the disappointment who couldn't earn paternal pride. He was the failure who had tried and lost everything. The humiliation suffocated. Every morning in that room felt like a prison sentence, a reminder he'd aimed for stars and landed face first in dirt. "That time nearly broke me," Simon later admitted. Those who knew him then say the admission doesn't capture his despair's full weight. He stopped returning calls. He avoided old colleagues. Some days he barely left his room. The world had given him a success glimpse, then ripped it away with brutal efficiency. But here's about Simon Cowell. Rejection had been his teacher since childhood. And every time life knocked him down, something stubborn inside refused to stay there. Slowly, agonizingly, he began rebuilding. He took unwanted meetings. He pitched ideas to those who'd written him off. He swallowed pride and accepted small consulting gigs, anything to survive. The industry whispered he was finished, washed up before truly beginning. But Simon had learned something in fanfare's wreckage. Chasing critical respect was a fool's game. Critics didn't buy records, ordinary people did. Soccer moms, teenagers, office workers. To succeed, you didn't aim for tastemakers, you aimed for masses. It was a lesson born of failure, humiliation, desperation, but it would become the philosophy changing everything. Fanfare Records' collapse didn't end Simon Cowell. It reforged him. The invisible boy, the young man who'd tasted and lost success, was becoming something else entirely, harder, sharper, more dangerous. He didn't know it yet, but the bankruptcy, the shame, the nights staring at his childhood bedroom ceiling, all were preparing him for a lifetime comeback. Not just survival, domination. The music industry had chewed him up and spat him out. But Simon Cowell wasn't done. Not even close. The man who'd one day decide millions' fates was still crawling through wreckage, learning the lesson defining his empire. Never, ever give up, even when the world tells you you're finished. The early 1990s weren't kind to Simon Cowell. A man in his 30s, living with parents, carrying bankruptcy's stain. The industry didn't forget failures. It whispered about them in boardrooms, laughed about them at parties. Simon wasn't just starting over, he was starting below zero. But desperation sharpens focus. And Simon, humiliated and broke, made a decision changing everything. He stopped chasing respect and started chasing results. In 1989, even before Fanfare fully collapsed, Simon began consulting for BMG Records. It wasn't glamorous. He wasn't the boss anymore, just another employee grinding through meetings, pitching ideas, fighting for scraps. But he studied the game differently now. He watched what sold, not what critics praised. He tracked chart positions, radio play, sales figures with obsessive precision. And he noticed something tastemakers missed. Ordinary people didn't want experimental art. They wanted catchy hooks, familiar melodies, stars they could believe in. The gap between critical celebration and public purchase was enormous, and Simon decided to inhabit that gap. Throughout the 1990s, Simon signed acts making industry insiders roll eyes, novelty groups, manufactured pop bands, old song covers repackaged for new audiences. Acts like Robson and Jerome, TV actors releasing classic ballads albums that music press mocked mercilessly. Yet it sold over 2 million copies, becoming 1995's UK best-selling album. Then came Westlife, 5 Irish boys assembled into a squeaky clean boy band critics dismissed as corporate and soulless. But their debut single went straight to #1. Then their second. Then their third. 14 UK #1 singles. Over 55 million records sold worldwide. Critics hated them. The public couldn't get enough. Simon didn't care about sneers. Every time a journalist called his work cheap or manufactured, he checked sales figures and smiled. He was making millions while tastemakers struggled to stay relevant. "I learned the hard way," Simon admitted years later. "You sell records first, earn respect later." But it wasn't just about money. Every success was proof. Proof the boy dismissed at school was smarter than ignoring teachers. Proof the son who never heard, "I'm proud of you," was worth something. Proof the man who lost everything at 30 could claw back. Still, victories felt hollow. Simon was succeeding, but alone. The relentless schedule left no room for relationships. The industry needing him still didn't respect him. And late nights, in expensive hotel rooms paid by hit records, Simon would lie awake haunted by the same fear paralyzing him in his parents' house. What if I lose it all again? There were nights I lay awake, convinced I'd lose everything again, he confessed. Fanfare's trauma never fully healed. Success felt fragile, temporary, something vanishing instantly. But then 2001 changed everything. British TV producer Simon Fuller approached BMG with a radical idea. A talent competition where the public, not executives, decided stardom. It would be called Pop Idol. And they wanted Simon Cowell as judge. Simon hesitated. Television was uncharted. What if he failed again? What if the public rejected him like the industry had? But desperation taught one critical lesson. Fortune favors the bold. So Simon said yes. And when cameras turned on, something extraordinary happened. The public didn't want polite judges offering gentle criticism. They wanted honesty. And Simon Cowell, the man dismissed, ignored, rejected his entire life, delivered honesty with surgical precision. "You sound like a cat being strangled. That was absolutely dreadful. I've heard better singing in the shower." Press called him cruel. Insiders called him a villain. But ratings were astronomical. Pop Idol became a phenomenon, and Simon Cowell, invisible throughout childhood, suddenly became impossible to ignore. The resurrection was complete. The failed mailroom entrepreneur had become British television's most talked about figure. But this was just beginning. America was calling, and Simon Cowell was about to become entertainment's most powerful man. In 2002, Simon Cowell crossed the Atlantic. Pop Idol smashed the UK, but Britain was a small market. America was the prize, the largest entertainment economy, where success meant global domination. When American Idol launched on Fox June 2002, insiders were skeptical. A singing competition on American TV? It would never work. They were spectacularly wrong. American Idol didn't just work. It exploded. Within weeks, it was America's highest-rated show. By season 1's end, over 23 million viewers watched Kelly Clarkson crowned winner. Simon Cowell, the British judge with the acid tongue and raised eyebrow, became a household name overnight. What made Simon magnetic wasn't cruelty. It was honesty in a world drowning in false praise. For years, talent shows had been polite, encouraging, safe. Judges smiled and said, "Good effort," even when contestants were objectively terrible. Simon shattered that facade. "You have no talent whatsoever." That was like having my ears assaulted. If you'd been singing like this 2,000 years ago, people would have stoned you. America had never seen anything like it. Press branded him the meanest man on television. Parents wrote outraged letters. Contestants wept. But the audience was obsessed. They didn't tune in despite Simon's harshness. They tuned in because of it. In a culture of participation trophies and empty encouragement, Simon's brutal honesty felt like fresh air. And beneath insults was something deeper: discernment. Simon didn't just tear down, he recognized real talent. Kelly Clarkson, Carrie Underwood, Jennifer Hudson, Daughtry. These weren't flukes. Simon had spent 2 decades in music learning to spot the difference between someone who could sing and someone who could sell. And when he said yes, it meant something. By mid-2000s, Simon Cowell wasn't just a TV judge, he was a cultural phenomenon. His face was on magazine covers. His quotes became memes. Saturday Night Live parodied him. The Simpsons featured him. He was simultaneously television's most loved and most hated man. And controversy only amplified his power. But Simon wasn't satisfied with American Idol. In 2004, he launched The X Factor in the UK, a show he created and owned, granting full creative control. Unlike Idol featuring only solo singers, The X Factor welcomed groups, older contestants, performers the industry had rejected. It was American Idol on steroids. The X Factor became an instant hit, launching Leona Lewis, One Direction, Little Mix, Fifth Harmony. Simon had perfected the formula. Find raw talent, package with precision, let the public fall in love. He wasn't just discovering stars, he was manufacturing them with assembly line efficiency. Then came the Got Talent franchise. Launched 2006 with Britain's Got Talent, the show expanded beyond singers to dancers, magicians, comedians, dog trainers, anyone with an act. It was a broader net, catching talent traditional music shows would never touch. Susan Boyle, the Scottish church volunteer stunning the world with I Dreamed a Dream, became a global sensation overnight. Her audition video became 2009's most watched YouTube clip. Got Talent franchises spread like wildfire. America's Got Talent, Asia's Got Talent, Africa's Got Talent, Arab's Got Talent. At its peak, over 70 countries had their versions. Simon Cowell's formats aired in over 100 nations, reaching an estimated 600 million viewers globally. He'd built a television empire unlike anything the world had ever seen. Money followed. By 2010, Simon's production company Psycho Entertainment generated hundreds of millions annually. His personal net worth soared past $500 million. He owned mansions in Los Angeles, London, Barbados. His garage housed supercars, Bugattis, Ferraris, Rolls-Royces. He dated models and actresses, flew private jets, lived a life once impossible for the invisible mailroom boy. But power, Simon learned, carries a brutal price. The schedule was relentless. Filming American Idol, The X Factor, Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent meant months of grueling 18-hour days. Auditions in 5 cities, weekly live shows, midnight strategy meetings. Pressure to maintain ratings, keep franchises fresh, stay ahead of competitors. It was suffocating. And the public turned. Audiences who once loved his honesty now called him a bully. Think pieces accused him of exploiting vulnerable contestants. Activists protested outside studios. He received death threats. Contestants who didn't make it blamed Simon for crushing dreams as if he owed them fame. I knew people hated me, Simon admitted years later. But I also knew I couldn't pretend to be someone I wasn't. Behind cameras, loneliness crushed. Friends drifted, unable to compete with his impossible schedule. Romantic relationships crumbled under work obsession. The boy starved of affection had become a man starved of connection. He confessed in a rare, vulnerable moment. Even filming, surrounded by lights and applause, I often felt completely alone. The cruel irony devastated. Simon Cowell had spent his life fighting to be seen, to matter, to force world recognition. And now, at power's height, sitting before millions weekly, he'd never felt more invisible. The empire was complete, but the man inside was crumbling. By 2013, Simon Cowell had everything the world claimed mattered. Fame, fortune, power. His television empire spanned continents. His net worth climbed past $300 million. He was untouchable, or so he believed. Then July 2013, news broke, and Simon's constructed world exploded. Lauren Silverman, wife of Simon's close friend, real estate mogul Andrew Silverman, was pregnant, and Simon Cowell was the father. It wasn't just gossip, it was nuclear scandal. Tabloids erupted with headlines screaming betrayal. Every detail was dissected, analyzed, weaponized. Simon, the man who'd built a career judging others, found himself judged by millions. The verdict was brutal. Andrew Silverman filed for divorce, citing adultery and naming Simon correspondent. Friends who'd stood by Simon for years quietly distanced. Industry colleagues whispered in hallways. The man who'd always controlled narrative found himself trapped in one he couldn't escape. "It's not something I'm proud of," Simon admitted later, voice stripped of confidence. There were no excuses, no spin, just heavy regret. For a man who'd spent life in control, this was his most powerless moment. Media frenzy was relentless. Paparazzi camped outside homes. Every appearance scrutinized. Late-night talk shows made him punchlines. The internet tore him apart. The judge had become the judged, and public opinion showed no mercy. But beneath scandal, something unexpected happened. Simon was terrified, not of headlines, lawsuits, or reputation damage. He was terrified of becoming a father. At 54, Simon had spent adulthood avoiding commitment. He'd dated beautiful women but never stayed. He'd built empires but never a family. Fatherhood was the one stage he'd never prepared for. "I didn't think I wanted children," he confessed a friend. "I thought I'd be terrible at it." February 14th, 2014, Valentine's Day. Eric Philip Cowell was born in New York City, named after Simon's father, the man who'd never said, "I'm proud of you." The baby entered a world still crackling with scandal and judgment. And then Simon held his son first. Cameras captured a smile, but couldn't capture what that moment silenced. All noise, tabloids, lawsuits, betrayal, shame, faded. In that hospital room, holding fragile life depending entirely on him, Simon Cowell felt something he hadn't since childhood: unconditional love. "Everything changed," Simon said later. Those who knew him saw it immediately. Transformation wasn't gradual, it was instant and absolute. The man who once measured life in ratings and revenue suddenly revolved existence around bedtime stories and diaper changes. He canceled meetings for Eric's first words. He rearranged filming schedules around bath time. The boardroom king became a nursery regular, swapping contracts for lullabies, critiques for crawling lessons. "My priorities changed completely," Simon admitted. "My world suddenly wasn't about ratings or contracts. It was about him." Friends were stunned. Simon, the workaholic bragging about 18-hour days, now left sets early for bedtime stories. Simon, avoiding commitment for 54 years, now spoke endlessly about Lego towers and favorite cartoons. Sharp edges softened. Harshness yielded to patience. "Fatherhood saved him," one close associate said. "He was on a dark path even before scandal. Eric gave him reason to stop, heal, begin again." But redemption doesn't erase consequences. Scandal left scars even fatherhood couldn't heal. Friendships broke, some permanently. Andrew Silverman, once close friend, now estranged. Trust once shattered rarely rebuilds. And Simon carried guilt like a shadow, present even in brightest moments with Eric. "I lost friends. I lost trust," Simon admitted. "But I gained something I never knew I needed." It wasn't triumphant escape from consequence, it was reckoning. A miracle wrapped in controversy. A gift born from ashes. To tabloids, scandal eventually faded, replaced by newer dramas. But to Simon, it remained a defining chapter. The moment he learned power couldn't shield from mistakes, and greatest transformation often comes from deepest failures. Eric didn't erase scandal, but gave it meaning. The fire nearly destroying Simon became the crucible forging a different man. Less arrogant, more vulnerable, more human. And for the first time, Simon Cowell understood what his father never taught him. That truest man's measure isn't what he builds, but who he loves. August 8, 2020, Malibu, California. Simon Cowell tested a new electric bike in his $24 million oceanfront home's courtyard. Saturday afternoon. Sun shining. Eric, now 6, played nearby. Lauren inside. It should have been perfect. Then 1 second changed everything. The bike was powerful, too powerful. Simon wasn't prepared for torque. He squeezed throttle. Machine lurched forward violently. Before reacting, he was airborne. Then ground. Then nothing but screaming pain. His back shattered, not cracked, not bruised, shattered. Multiple spine fractures. Vertebrae compressed, nerves severed. Impact so severe paramedics later said he was lucky alive. One wrong movement, one slightly different angle, and Simon Cowell would have been paralyzed or dead. "I came within a minute of not making it," Simon later said, voice hollow. And he meant literally. By ambulance arrival, his body shocked, blood pressure plummeting. Lauren held Eric back, shielding him from father broken and bleeding on pavement. Surgery took 6 hours. Excruciating hours of doctors carefully placing steel rod into Simon's spine, fusing vertebrae, stabilizing what fall destroyed. Waking, pain surpassed anything imagined. Every breath felt like fire. Every movement sent lightning through body. The pain was beyond anything I'd ever endured, Simon admitted later. And this from a man surviving public humiliation, bankruptcy, scandal. But physical agony differs. Inescapable, relentless, every second reminding of fragility. For weeks, Simon couldn't walk, couldn't sit without assistance, couldn't lift water glass. The man commanding stages and boardrooms, building $600 million empire on sheer will, was suddenly helpless. Nurses helped him bathroom. Physical therapists taught standing again. Every tiny victory, shifting bed 3 steps, holding posture 10 seconds, felt monumental. But physical pain wasn't worst. Worst was fear. Fear he might never fully recover. Fear spine now held by metal and prayers might fail. Fear one wrong move could paralyze. And worst, fear Eric might lose father. I thought of Eric and knew I had to fight. Simon confessed later, voice trembling. Not bravado, raw terror. Image of 6-year-old son growing up without father haunted every painful recovery step. Eric became greatest healer. The little boy would sit bedside holding hand, telling Lego projects and cartoons. When Simon stood first time, Eric cheered like father won Oscar. Those moments, small, ordinary, impossibly precious, gave Simon reason endure agony. Months passed. Slowly, agonizingly, Simon learned walking again. First walker, then cane, finally alone. But recovery never complete. Spine would never be same. Mornings brought stiffness, pain. Sitting long periods became impossible. Steel rod in back, permanent reminder. You are fragile. And just as Simon began rebuilding strength, fate struck again. January 2022. Another electric bike. Another accident. This time Simon rode near Malibu home, lost control, crashed. Injuries less severe, broken arm, facial bruising, cuts, scrapes, but psychological impact devastating. Knocked down once tragedy. Knocked down twice felt punishment. Headlines mocked. Simon Cowell crashes again. Late night comedians joked. Social media erupted memes. The man once untouchable now punchline. Cautionary tale about recklessness and ego. But for Simon, shame wasn't worst part. Realization he wasn't invincible, that control clung to entire life, was illusion no money, power, or fame could protect from miscalculation moment. It changed me every possible way, Simon admitted later. The accidents became mirror, forcing him see what he'd become. Man working too much, sleeping too little, living relentless pace convinced stopping meant failure. Accidents didn't just break body, they broke denial. Simon began slowing, reduced television commitments, spent more time home with Eric and Lauren. Started physical therapy not to return old pace, but simply move without pain. Stopped chasing next deal, next show, next conquest. For first time, Simon Cowell stopped running. World saw man recovering injuries, but closest saw deeper. Man finally learned survival isn't about power. It's about presence. That moments matter aren't in boardrooms or TV stages, but quiet mornings with son teaching bike safety, holding close, grateful another day. Accidents scarred, but also saved, because they taught Simon Cowell one lesson: childhood, bankruptcy, empire never could. That life is brutally, unbearably fragile. And greatest strength isn't never falling. It's getting back up even when body screams protest, and choosing live differently. Simon Cowell survived bankruptcy, scandal, 2 near-fatal accidents. But nothing prepared losses hollowing him ways physical pain never could. July 2015, just as Simon steadied in unfamiliar fatherhood role, his mother Julie Brett died age 89. She'd lived long life, graceful until end, former ballet dancer carrying poise even as age slowed steps. To world, natural passing, quiet close of long journey. To Simon, devastation. Julie had been anchor in stormy childhood, silent witness to rebellions. One figure whose approval he'd always longed for even when rarely spoken. When she died, Simon was mid-producing X Factor. Cameras, deadlines, contestants all became irrelevant. He stepped away, canceling commitments, retreating into grief-stripping armor-worn decades. Losing my mom was hardest thing I've ever gone through, Simon said softly. Silence after passing unbearable. but ache sharpened by older wound never truly healed. 1999, long before global fame, Simon buried father Eric Philip Cowell. The stern, distant man never saying, "I'm proud of you," died before seeing son rise from bankruptcy to household name. Simon carried regret years. Knowledge the one man whose approval chased hardest never witnessed success that need created. Now mother gone too, Simon felt last thread tying to roots severed. The boy invisible now orphan, and silence life grew louder. Friends recalled how fragile he looked those months. The unshakable mogul reduced silence. But Julie's passing forced something surface. Reflection. Simon began speaking more about family, about being present, about cherishing moments fame often steals. Those working noticed new patience, softness rarely surfaced before. And then just as wound began healing, tragedy struck again, this time with cruelty defying comprehension. September 2024, Buenos Aires, Argentina. Liam Payne, just 31, fell hotel balcony and died. News hit Simon like freight train. Liam wasn't just contestant, wasn't just name in catalog of stars Simon discovered. He was family. The boy Simon first met 16, standing nervously under stage lights, carrying voice filled with unshakable promise. The kid Simon placed in One Direction, band carefully assembled 2010, group becoming global phenomenon defining entire generation. Simon remembered audition, nervous laugh, flickered determination Liam's eyes. Single, yes, unlocked journey seeming destined last decades. To see light extinguished so abruptly, Simon later say like losing son. Too young, too soon, too cruel. Simon whispered close friend. And that more than anything was truth. World mourned chorus. Cities glowed candlelight vigils. Fans flooded social media lyrics, photos, broken words disbelief. But Simon's mourning solitary. Projects halted. Cameras switched off. The man once dominating global primetime chose silence. His nights no longer filled bright studios, but quiet hours alongside Eric. Friends noticed how held son tighter, as if every laugh, every bedtime story carried weight something sacred. As if trying give Eric every moment Liam would never get give. One recalled. In private, Simon returned beginning. Replayed grainy audition tapes Liam and boys. So young, so full untamed hope. What once felt nostalgia became ritual mourning. Each laugh tape wound. Each song ghost what might been. For man building careers, engineering culture, helplessness unbearable. Could design empires, could create stars, but couldn't rewrite this ending. Liam's death didn't just grieve Simon. It scarred. Became mirror couldn't avoid, showing cost fame, life brevity, truth even brightest lights extinguished without warning. And cruel emptiness, Simon clung harder what remained. To Eric, to rare silences, to simple irreplaceable fact being alive. By time Simon Cowell entered 60s, endured catalog scars, emotional, physical, professional. But nothing prepared cruelest wound. One inflicted himself. For years, Simon dabbled cosmetic enhancements. Botox here, fillers there. Each procedure justified maintenance. Shield against slow march age. In industry-obsessed youth, where cameras capture every wrinkle, tabloids dissect every flaw, Simon felt pressure like vice tightening neck. First, changes subtle, barely noticeable. Smooth forehead, slightly fuller cheeks. Simon looked refreshed, polished, exactly television demanded. But as years accumulated, interventions multiplied, something shifted. By 2021, fans and critics stared shock man no longer looked himself. Once expressive features stiff, frozen. Trademark smirk forced. Cheeks oddly swollen. Face stretched, artificial. Headlines screamed, Simon Cowell. What happened his face? Memes spread mercilessly. Online forums dissected every frame, every angle, every public appearance. For Simon, irony brutal. Built empire judging appearances. Telling people not good enough, polished enough, marketable enough, and now being judged, mocked, ridiculed. I went too far, Simon admitted later interview. Voice stripped bravado. There was point looked mirror. Literally didn't recognize myself. Confession carried more weight, tabloids realized. Not just cosmetic admission, existential. For man clawing way invisibility to omnipresence. Losing recognition, own mirror, its own annihilation. Emotional toll ran deeper, vanity. Simon began withdrawing spotlight. Reduced America's Got Talent appearances. Skipped promotional tours. Let others front seat shows once dominated. Insiders whispered looked tired, diminished, hollowed. For first time, Simon understood bones what meant object, not observer. The judge become judged and verdict merciless. But humiliation came clarity. Simon made decision shocking inner circle would stop. No more Botox, no more fillers, no more chasing artificial youth making stranger himself. Enough, decided. Let age, let show. More than aesthetic decision, declaration, peace himself. No longer needed present invincibility, needed embrace vulnerability. When Simon eventually reemerged, not gloss artificial youth, but authenticity, man surviving public ridicule, choosing honesty over illusion. Face showed lines, hair grayed, frame thinned, discipline rather vanity. Fans once mocked now saw different. Humanity. I've stopped chasing youth, Simon confessed. I'd rather chase memories, Eric. Lesson etched, not contracts or ratings but face lines. And once willing, let stay. 2025, Simon Cowell stands 65. No longer ruthless figure ruling Saturday night television, but man utterly reshaped, survival, scars, sober reflection. Still sits Got Talent panel, but role changed. Verdicts softened, counsel. Wit given way, warmth. Man once feared sharp tongue now speaks patience, someone knowing exactly fragile life. Every word carries echo, night's pain. Every smile shadow, trials endured. Home $24 million Beverly Hills mansion, health first. Mornings begin slow, careful Pilates routines, prescribed physical therapists protect spine, fractured 2020. Every careless movement risks reigniting agony. Steel rod back, permanent companion, cold reminder, body never what was. Meals no longer indulgent feasts. Product meticulous planning, doctors. Low sodium fight hypertension. High fiber ward digestive issues. Antioxidants keep fatigue bay. Every bite feels choice between healing or hurting. But greatest physical trial, vision. Decades under harsh stage lights. Lingering trauma effects, dimmed eyesight. Reading glasses, constant companions. Dim lighting leaves squinting. For man building empire, spotting hidden brilliance, young singers. Blurring vision feels betrayal. Confides close friends, thought one day unable, see Eric's face clearly, terrifies more any headline ever could. These physical struggles bleed sleepless nights. Pain surging back like old enemy. Anxiety lingering. Fear falling again. Dread becoming dependent. Fear time running faster can keep up. But every evening, all softens, presence, Eric. Bike rides, Malibu coast. Cautious now, helmets mandatory. Fumbling, piano keys together. Bedtime stories, read effort but overflowing love. These moments become strongest medicine. Each laugh, sun feels promise. Each page turned, defiance, time itself. Behind domestic rituals, empire hums. Franchises Got Talent. X Factor continued generating enormous revenue. Sustaining fortune estimated over $600 million. Portfolio vast. $24 million Malibu oceanfront mansion. $45 million Holland Park estate, London. Properties scattered continents. Garage sits over 20 supercars. Ferraris, Rolls-Royces, Aston Martins, Bugatti Veyron. But most gather dust. Private jet, once constant shuttle, continents flies rarely. They symbols, man once raced against time, finally slowed. And Simon speaks, riches detachment. Almost disdain. Already drafted will. Eric won't inherit empire. Instead, money flow, foundations, children's healthcare, creative education, scholarships, disadvantaged youth. I don't want Eric inherit money, Simon said. I want inherit values, and want children begin nothing, inherit chances never had.